Superintendent Smith, you want to go ahead and introduce your staff and
I
present
do.
this?
So Sue Ann Higgins, who is the Director of Education Options, and Marsha Argenbright, who is Director of Online Learning this year, are going to walk us through an examination of both what it is that's currently happening and exploring tiers of potential opportunity for developing online learning capacity in this district. So,
good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and we look forward to illuminating the conversation a little bit. And it's been great to work with Marsha, whose expertise has been really well suited to the online learning and credit options work this year. So we have thus far worked with a pretty broad-based team studying how might additional online and virtual tools assist us in meeting our milestones. And I will start from the beginning saying that the milestones that we are primarily focused with right now are the ones at the top of the spectrum. So really the 10th grade and graduation milestones have been the target, largely because that's where online tools are already the most broadly implemented. And so we don't intend to necessarily leave the work there, but a lot of what we'll discuss tonight is about the high school end of the spectrum. Because of the credit-bearing nature of that, because of the specific requirements for having highly qualified professional teachers attached to high school credits so that students may be successful in high school and successful in post-secondary and beyond. So in addition to our team, the high school administrative team, high school principals, the EdBox steering committee, a group of teachers, and folks in teaching and learning have all been a part of this. We've also had other support and critical friends work from other members of the executive committee. And so what you'll learn more about in these materials and from us tonight is sort of thinking along those lines right now. One of the benefits of Portland Public School coming perhaps a little late to this dance, if you will, is that there is a lot of national data, there's a lot of information. And one thing that I'll leave with you as we leave tonight is a pair of articles from Education Week, one of the leading education journals, the first of them on December 7th, and then one that followed it a week later, about the questionable results being gotten by completely virtual education. And that underscores where we start in the conversation, which is really that our intention is to look at how do we use our local talent, our teachers, and an enhanced toolkit to get further than we currently are. So, so we bring those frames to this conversation, as well as the data that we see, including the fact that when we study the courses failed in high school, courses most frequently failed are freshman and sophomore courses, and African American students, for instance, fail those courses twice as frequently as their white counterparts in schools. And so we see this as a place where our racial equity work is essential, and that we have to be using that as our frame for not just doing more of the same. I'd also like to just sort of briefly mention there are a couple of other tensions in talking about online learning. Certainly there are big fears, and I think in some cases warranted fears, about the corporatization of private education and the roles that large corporate online learning companies are playing or are trying to play in absorbing public education dollars. And also referenced in these Education Week articles are concerns about that and some pretty clear cases where big money has been leveraged to those corporations. And so the work that we're doing in no way supplants our teaching force. And the data around online learning now clearly says that this is not a panacea. Online learning will not be the magic bullet that allows us to do much more cheaply something that we do now. It will still require us to have a powerful professional teaching force And what we want to do is figure out different ways to differentiate the pace, the type of material, the place where students get their education. And so we bring that tonight. The other tension is really about does online learning get us there? Where has it gotten us so far? So the materials that you received in advance from Marcia included information about, more than half of our students who currently take an online course take it for credit recovery, and more than half of them pass those courses, but not a lot more than half. And so that concerns us. The number of courses failed in our high schools, of course, also is of concern. More than 6,000 individual courses failed last year. And so we know that in order to meet our milestones, we're going to have to do something differently. So what we've laid out in the materials you received is a series of plans that starts with the meeting the most basic needs we have right now with regard to credit recovery in those cases where it is considered more beneficial for a student to take credit recovery outside of their school or outside of the regular learning day or with the regular learning tools. What we haven't seen be really successful in our district or nationally is students doing the same class again with the same materials again with the same teacher again. That shouldn't come as any surprise to us. And so what we do want to do is provide what we think are thoughtfully composed tools that are vetted against our state benchmarks, that align with our Common Core state standards, and that will allow students who are succeeding in those courses to succeed in the subsequent courses. One of the other things that you'll see in the plan, and I'll have Marcia describe a little bit more about the tiers, and we're interested mostly in your questions tonight, is what we tried to do is start with our students who are furthest from being able to access the regular core curriculum in their schools. We also know, however, that we have a need for students to have opportunity to access coursework for acceleration. So it might be a 7th grader who needs algebra or geometry coursework. Right now, we do provide those resources. We're wondering if there are online tools that would allow us to use highly qualified teachers that are more centrally located to support those students, so that we are not spending as much time and money having teachers travel around school to work with small cohorts of kids, but rather to have them centrally located and support kids.